about what you learned here?
Well, examination by the Secret Service and the DC Metro Police show, she is there with some of her kids, some of her grandchildren. Mask, like we saw during COVID. And, it appears he might be looking for somebody. As a group of people get up at that table, he sits down at the table.
Hello.
And they want to give him shlishi, or they want to give him after Yonah, or they want to give him covet. Yomer lehem rotzechani. He has to inform them. You know what? I'm a murderer. Amru le'afal pichein. We don't care. We know that you're a murderer, but even though we want to be machabed, you kabel man, he can accept the covet. Shenemar v'zed var rotzeach. That means he has to tell them who he is. He can't hide it. Another halacha. Ma'ili ma'yuschar le'leviim. The Leviim live in these cities. They own this. They own the houses there. So the Rotzchim who ran there have to pay rent. Div Rabbi Yehuda. Rav Meir Amar no, lo hayu malim l'mschar. That they live there for free. It's Gzeres HaKosu, that they have to go and live there. V'choizer l'srora shahayaba. After the term is up, let's say the Kohen Gadol dies, he goes back to his home that he came from. Choizer l'srora shahayaba. Let's say he was the Rav of the town. Let's say he was the president of the shul. Let's say he was the Gabbai Tzedakah. He had some kind of job for the tzibur. He goes back to it. That's called srora. That's women in halacha can't really have srora. Div Reb Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says no. He's a rotzeach. He cannot be in a position of srora anymore. Rav Kana Machlokes, this Machlokes between Rav Yehuda and Rav Meir, whether they pay rent, is b'sheish. The 6 are a miklat that the Torah mentions. And remember, there were 42 others, but the Machlokes is in the 6. Rav Yehuda holds, Demar Sovar, it says, Are miklat tiena lachem. That's leklita. That's only to protect them. But it's not that they get to live there for free. Umar Sover lachem means l'chot tzarcheihem. Rav Meir learns, when it says lachem, that means they can live there and they don't have to pay rent. So the machlokes between them is by the 6 cities. Ava Barboy Mushtayim, the other 42 of the Levium cities that were also Irmikla Divrakola, Yumalim Lamschar. That's private property, the Levium. The Torah doesn't say anything about lachem there, and they have to pay rent. Armlei Rava. What do you mean? Ki have vaday lachem l'chol tzarchechem mashmos. Rava says everybody holds that when it comes to the 6 cities, it says lachem, and nobody would hold that they would have to pay rent to the Levium in those 6 cities. It can't be the machlokas there. Elam Rava machlokas barboy mushtayim. The machlokes between Rav Meir and Rabbi Yehuda is regarding the 42 Levium. Everybody holds that by the other 6 cities they live there free. The machlokes is 42. The Mar Savar, it says by the Rabbi Yehuda would hold Valehem titnu arboim ushtaim ir. So kihanech leklita. So just like the 6 cities, it says it's Sheish Arya Mikla Sher Tidnu Lanu Shamarotzeach. That what's special about the 6? that they protect him from being killed by the Goel Adam. Same thing here, the 42, that's what they are. They protect, but they have to pay rent. Umarsar v'aleim titnu ki hanech. They're treated just like the other 6. Ma hanech. L'chol tzarcheichem, the lachem says everything, including rent. Afaninam l'chol tzarcheichem. So there's a machlokas. Aval b'sheish divrei kol lo hayu malim hamschar. But the 6 primary cities that are mentioned in the Torah, everyone holds that they don't have to pay rent.
How did they finance the cities? If they were Ira Miklat, then they had lots of landlords and they get free rent. So,
No, those 6.
but I'm saying, but if the 42, let's say even the 6, how did they finance those 6 cities?
Well, the whole other people could pay rent. It's only the Rotzchim. It's not a whole city full of Rotzchim. There were everybody lived in that city, so they paid rent. It's only the Rotzchim who came there didn't have to pay rent.
That's what happens in Los Angeles. The Rotzchim come from out of town,
Right. And they live.
They get rent free.
They get murdered and drugs.
They get rent free. It's nothing changed.
Then we said Choizer l'srora shahayaba. And the Mishnah had a machlokas between Rabbi and Rabbi Yehuda whether if the guy had some kind of public position, he goes back to the public position. Sheton Rabbana. An Eved Ivri that goes free by Yovel. It says V'shavel mishpachto v'lachuzas avosav yashuv. He goes back to his mishpacha and to his achuzah of the avosav. And we darshan. Limishpachto hushav ve'eno shav l'mashahuzaku avosav. He goes back to his family, but he doesn't go back to the positions that his forefathers had regarding COVID. He doesn't go back to that. No. It goes back to that. Because it says, Elachuzas avoisav ka'avoisav. So just if his fathers were in a position of srora, he could go back. We're talking about an Eved who stayed, an Eved Ivri who stayed, and it goes out by Yovel. V'chein begoila, by a murderer who went to Golus, who went to Yer Miklat. So Kishu Omer Yashuv, it already says Vishav. What's the Yashuv? The rabbi says Arotzeach. He goes back, and including the Rotzeach goes back to his prior position. Mai v'chein begoila. Kiditanya. Yashuv HaRotzeach el Eretz Achuzaso. The Rotzeach goes back to the land of his forefathers. Le'eretz Achuzaso, who shavin shav l'mashach ziku avoisav. The same machlokas. That's Div Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda, no. Afu shav l'mashach ziku avoisav. He goes back. If his forefathers had positions communal, he goes back to the same thing. Gomar Shiva Mehasa. There's this Vishav Hekish from the din of Eved Ivri. Hadron lach Elohim Agoylin, Hadron lach Elohim Agoylin, Hadron lach Elohim Agoylin. Elohim Aloikin. The following Averis get Malchus. Habal Achoisai. You have relations with his sister. Alachois Savi. You have relations with your father's sister. Alachois Imoy. The sister of your mother. Alachois Ishto. Your sister-in-law. The sister of your wife. Aleishes Achi. The sister of your brother. Aleishes Achi Aviv. Your father's brother's wife. Ve'alanida. If you have relations with a nida, and you were warned, etc., you get malchus. Almona l'kohen gadol. Can't live with a kohen gadol. Grusha v'chlutza l'kohen hedyot. Mamzeres unasin liYisrael. And the scene is a givoni, and even after they converted, there's a gzeret losis chaten bon. Bas Yisrael nasin l'mamzer. A girl marrying a male nasin or a mamzer. And if a woman was a widow and then got married and got divorced, so the same woman is Almona Grusha, Chayav Nalom Mishum Shnei Shevet. You get 2 malchuses, 2 sets of malchuses. Now, a woman who was a Grusha of a Chalutza, ain't a Chayav Nalom Mishum Achas Bilvad, because Chalutza is not written b'feirish in the Torah. It's a drasha. Hatamei she'achal es hakodesh, a person who is physically tamei, who eats kodshim, malchus. Abala migdash tamei. You are tamei, and you walk in the base of migdash. The oichel chaylev. You eat chaylev. All of these you get kores for, but you also get malchus. Oichel chaylev, v'dam, v'noiser. Noiser is if you leave kodshim over till the morning. Pigul, the kohen had in mind to eat of the animal tomorrow. That and then kazayas of that animal it gives you karetz and malchus. Vit tamei, or if the animal is tamei. Vashoichet umala b'chutz. Someone offers a korban outside the base of mikdash. V'ha'oichel chametz b'pesach. Besides karetz, you'd get malchus. V'ha'oichel v'oisem lachem yom kippurim. If you eat on Yom Kippur, you get karetz, but you also get malchus. Or you do mlacha, malchus. V'amefatim es hashemen. You produce the shemen hamishcha. So you're not allowed to do that. It's a lav. V'amefatim es haktoiris, or you make toiris. V'asach b'shemen hamishcha. You anoint yourself with shemen hamishcha. V'ha'oichel nevelus utreifos. Shkotzim or you eat something unkosher. Ochal tevel u'maiser rishon shlo nitra trumaso. You eat tevel. The truma has, or maiser rishon, the truma hasn't been taken, or maiser sheni outside Yerushalayim, or hegdesh either shlo niftu that was not redeemed. Kama yochel min tevel v'yechayv. How much of the tevel do you have to eat? Reb Shimon Omer kolshu any amount. The Chacham Amrim kazayis. Reb Shimon iyat temorim li ba'oichel nemala kolshu shulchayim. What if you eat a worm or an ant? Aren't you chayiv? That's less than kazayis, argues Reb Shimon. It's a beria. It's its own creation. No matter how small it is, if you eat a whole beria, you're chayiv. So even if you eat one kernel of wheat, it's an intact thing. That's why Reb Shimon said even kolshu. So the Gemara points out chayve krisis katani. All of these are many of these. Habola nido, abalachoisoy, ochal chelev, nevela. Right, many of them. They also have kores, not just a lav. Yet they're getting malchus. Yet the Gemara notes chayve misas bezdin loktani. You notice it doesn't say if you live with an ish, which normally would give you capital punishment in Beis. It doesn't say you get malchus and capital punishment. Therefore, the Gemara points out must be mani Rabbi Kiva he must be Rabbi Kiva the Tanya. Echad chayve krisus ve'echad chayve misas bezdin yeshna b'chlal malchus arboim devar Shmuel. According to Rabbi Shmuel, if you were adjudicated lemisa or lekores, you got malchus and then you got misa. Rabbi Kiva merchayve krisus yeshna b'chlal malchus arboim. I can understand giving somebody who gets kores malchus. Shem asu tshuva bezin shemala moichlin lahem. So the kores goes away, but the
Only with the one before where he says it kares where you get malchus and misa. What about kem lehmi the rabbaman? I mean, it's chayav misa.
Okay, we'll see. The Gemara will explain what the sheet of Rabbi Shmuel is. Good question. We'll see what his sheet is very soon. Kim lemid Rabbi B'nai we've had with money and malchus, or money and misa. There we said, give him, since he's going to get misa, he's free of paying mammon. Or since he's getting malchus, he doesn't have to pay mammon. That's where we said, Kim lemid Rabbi B'nai. This is a new thing. Misa and malchus. Rabbi Kiva, you notice, doesn't say that the reason why kores and you get malchus, there's nothing to do with Kim lemid Rabbi B'nai. He says, if a person does tshuva, the Beis Din Shomala will forgive him for the kores. So you don't pater him for the malchus. He's not going to get any punishment otherwise. But
that's when it's bidei shamayim. where it's
Well, Kares is Bidei Shemayim.
mine, and I'm saying, but we talked about Mita.
So Chayve Misas Bezdin is Eina B'chal Makas Arboim, Shem Asu Tshuva Ein Bezin Shomata Bachlan Lahem. So Tshuva doesn't help if he was convicted of a crime which you get capital punishment. You dan him lemisa, and according to Rabbi Kiva, you don't punish him twice for the same avera. So it's more, the svara is more like double jeopardy. One double jeopardy really in America is innocent. Once you're declared innocent, they can't try you again. So it's not double jeopardy. It's the concept of you only give one punishment, not two punishments. Rabbi Shmuel doesn't hold of that principle. You can get two punishments. We'll see why. He'll say, Malchus is like the beginning of Misa. Right? Basin's gonna put you to death. So it's a process. And unfortunately, it's a slow process. It's one long Misa, starting with Malchus. That's Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Yitzchak Omer Chayve Krisus B'chlal Hayu. In general, the pasuk says, "Ki chol aser yashem mikol hatoivos ha'ele v'nichrasu." Whoever does in Parshas Arayas, whoever does any of these averas, within there is habol achoisoy, you get kores. But v'lama yotzes kores b'achoisoy. But then it says v'ish asher yikachas achoisoy v'nichrasu le'nei bnei amam. Why was achoisoy taken out of the general klal where it already said they all get kores and is written again? L'doinoi bekores v'lo b'malchus. So Rabbi Yitzchak says it's a drasha, so it's not like Rabbi Kiva, it's a little different, that you danim bekores and not malchus. And therefore we learn like all by the Chayve Krisis that you only get kores and you don't get malchus. Rabbi Kiva holds you do get malchus for the svar that he said. If the kores goes away through tshuva, there's no punishment. Okay. My time at Rabbi Shmuel. Dichsiv. Imlo sishmor lasas is called divrei Torah zos. If you don't watch what the Torah told you to do, because it's, and then it says, v'hifla Hashem es makoischa. He will increase your makas. Haflo zueni yodemai. What's this haflo? Kishu oimer v'hipilu hashoifet v'hikal lefanov. You will, the judge will give him malchus, and you use the word v'hipilu. Have you ever haflu azu malchus? So hifla Hashem es makoischa means malchus. Uksiv, that comes in with the punishment. Imlo sishmor lasos is called divrei Torah zos. So who haven't been Makayim these mitzvahs, you give him malchus. And Chayve Misas are also part of that. So if you're going to violate anything that the Torah, you should get malchus for Chayve Asay. The Gemara says, no, imlo sishmru ksiv. L'chravavin amar Eloi, Shomer Ravavin amar Eloi, kol makom shenemar, yishomer pen al, eino ela yisr lo saseh. So you only get lavim, not asets. Yihachi lav shein bo ma'isa nami. What if you do a lav without an action? You should get malchus, because it says lo sishmor lasos ksiv. You need a ma'isa. What about lav shenitik lasei? You have gzela. Don't steal. But if you steal, return it. So that's a lav where there's an asay. Now, we've learned you don't get malchus. The Gemara says, nami. You have a ma'isa, and you went against the Torah. According to this principle, you should get malchus. Well, dumya the lav shel chasima. To get malchus, it has to be similar to the lav of muzzling an animal. There, right after that pasuk, lo sachshom shor b'disho, it talks about malchus. To tell me that only a lav that has an action, you get malchus. Hashta da asas lachi. Now that you've given me that answer, so all the other questions you asked me, kulanami, that you don't get malchus because do me the lav shel chasim. It has to be a lav sheyesh b'mais. Now, Rabbi Kiva, my timer, why does Rabbi Kiva says that Chayve Misa is best, then you don't get Malkus? Because it says, V'hikau kedei rishaso. Strike him like his evil. Mishum risha achas atam achayvo. V'atam achayvo mishum shtei rishis. You don't give him two punishments on one sin. Getting Misa is enough. How come Rabbi Shmuel, what does he hold with this? He says you get, if you're Chayav Misa and these Lav, you get Malkus in both. So, like I answered before, Hanimili Misa Umamoy. If there's a financial penalty as well and death, O Malkus Umamoin, then you don't, then I agree with Kedei Rishasoy. You give him the worst, you give him the Malkus. Or you give him the Mamoin, or we'll see in certain cases, Misa, you can't avoid it. You always have to be put to death and you're free to pay. Same thing with Malkus. Aval Misa Malkus, they're not two punishments. It's a Misa Richtehi. We first give him Malkus, and then you kill him. It's one long death penalty. What does Rabbi Kiva say to that? Rabbi Kiva, Ihachi, Chayve Krisus Nami. Maybe this should exclude, you should, just like Rabbi Shmuel's, according to the way Rabbi Kiva's learning, based on that principle, you shouldn't get Koris and Malkus. You should only get one. So my Amrit, Shemasu Tshuva. Well, you just said you can't do Tshuva against Misa. Hashtemias lo avdi. If Beis Din adjudicate you to death, that you can't get out of. Amr vavo. Beferish ribta Torah chayve krisus lamalkus. The Torah itself said you get malkus for these averes that you get koris for. The Gomar, it says le'ene, v'nichrusu le'ene bnei amam, mile'enecha. It says arba'im yakenu, v'nikla chicha le'necha. So it's a hekesh. Maskar Rav Bar Ma'amel, iachi chayve misus bezdin nami nigmerein. Let's learn the same hekesh to misus bezdin. Because it says me'ene, it says im me'ene ha'eda nesta lishkaga by avodah zara, where you get misus bezdin. Mile'enecha, where it's by malchus. So maybe you should give malchus to the people of chayve misus bezdin, like Rabbi Shmuel said. No, donin le'ene mile'enecha, that we can learn, but ein donin me'ene mile'enecha. What do you mean? Well, my nafkamina. That's V'hatana Dvei Rabbi Shmuel. It says V'shava coin uva coin, and we make a hekesh with that. Zui shiva, zui bia. Even though the words are different. V'od, you can learn another me'ene. Ligmor me'ene by Mises Bezdin, mile'ene by Krisus. We already said that by Krisus you get Malchus. You do the same thing by Misa. We learned din Malchus with Chavi Misas, that we did accept. So, Kiblun Ereshmal Bar Yitzchak, that Kedei Rishaso, Mishum Risha Achas Atam Mechayva, V'yata Mechayva Mishum Shtei Rishiyos, that's Berisha Mesrul Bezin HaKosu B'Deber. That's a punishment that's given over to Bezin, but not Koris. B'dei Shamayim doesn't fall into that category. Rava Omar, that Asrubei, if you gave Asra Liktala to the guy who's doing the Aver and you said you're going to be put to death, Kulam lo pligi, that the Ein Loke Umes, that he only gets death, he doesn't get Malchus. Keep pligi the Asrubei Malchus, where you only gave him Asra for Malchus. Rishmol Sover Lavshnit and Lazarus Mrs. Bezin Loikin Allah. That he held in general, you could give Malchus if, even though it was a punishment also that includes the death penalty. But if they gave him Asra only for Malchus, you can give him Malchus. But Rabbi Kiva said, he said, one has nothing to do with the other, like we've learned, like we've been learning. You don't get Misa and Malchus. He doesn't hold of Misa Richta. So if the wrong Asra was given to a guy who gets the death penalty, they told him you're going to get Malchus, there's no Chiv Malchus. Ul Rabbi Kiva Iochi Chayve Krisus Nami. So why don't you say by the Chayve Krisus, like Dam and Chayla, Lav Shenitin Lazaros Korisu. So we said in our mission, you give these guys malchus. Why? It's a law that is only talks about Koris, not malchus. You don't need Hazora by these chayve krisus to punish him. Pesach umila onash if you didn't bring the korban Pesach or you didn't circumcise yourself, you get Kores, and there's no Azara by Kores. So that's why, but you can get Malchus by these Kores cases. The Dilma Azhara is lenient korban, but maybe the warning by Chayve Krisus is by korban. If you did it b'shoigeg, you bring a chatas, but that you shouldn't get Malchus. And where do we see a proof that Pesach Umila, the lesbu azar lo maisi korban? There is no lav by Pesach Umila. You don't bring a korban if you didn't do the Pesach or the Mila. So hasam lavinu time by Pesach and Mila is a different reason. Mishum de iskish kol Torah kula lavod azara. Bringing a korban chatas for shogeg is based on learning from avodah zarah. Ma avodah zarah sheva al taisa. If the Torah says don't do something, and you did it b'shoigeg, av kol avera sheish ba sheva al taisa. If in the whole, all the other things have to do with don't do this thing, and if you do it, b'shoigeg you bring chat lafuke hani, but Pesach umila are sheyesh ba kumaseh. You have to get up and do something. You have to bring the korban Pesach. You have to do mila. This kind of avera by not doing it does not bring you a korban chat. It's not compared to avodah zarah. Okay. Tomorrow we can learn at 8:00.